Hi, my name is Melanie Herrmann. I am a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a student. And for the past 10 months, I have had the privilege of getting to call myself a public ally. Before coming to Public Allies, I didn't really have a pathway to speak of. I was just going to college to get a degree in the hopes that degree would land me a random job in the far off future. But suddenly that future was getting closer and closer every day. As a religious studies major, you get a lot of questions that can be summarized into one word, one simple yet very terrifying word: why? Which, to be honest, is a fair question. But I would always give flimsy answers. And when people would follow up by asking what I planned to do with that degree, I wouldn't have an answer at all because I was wondering the same thing. What on earth did I plan to do? As I was wondering about this one fine night, my mom suddenly came up with an answer: Public Allies, for which she had actually been a placement supervisor for about 10 years back. She explained the concept to me, and it sounded perfect. So I applied immediately, and somehow I got in. What drew me to Public Allies was this concept of experience with a safety net. The working world loves this word, experience, but it's really hard to come by. So Public Allies was a perfect opportunity that would allow me to get experience working with a nonprofit doing quote-unquote adult duties. Because before that, the only experience I had was working with kids for 4 to 9 hours talking about such intellectual topics like which dinosaur would win in a boxing fight, the Ultrasaurus or the Velociraptor, which, for the record, obviously it would be the Ultrasaurus. It's got ultra in the name, come on. The other appeal of Public Allies was that I would have professional development with my program managers alongside other allies who would be going through the same types of learning curves as I would be. During the interview process, it was really inspiring to get to learn about all the amazing organizations doing great work in Arizona, but I found my match with YWCA Metropolitan Phoenix. YWCA is a global movement dedicated to empowering women and eliminating racism. You know, simple stuff. YWCA Metropolitan Phoenix is the local association here in the Valley. It had the empowering women part down pat, but eliminating racism was proving harder to do. YWCA Metropolitan Phoenix needed an ally to come in and get the staff started off on the right foot. It was a tall order, and while intimidating, before I was ever even matched, I was already brainstorming all that could be done with this project. What YWCA knew before taking me on was that they wanted training for the staff, kind of like a crash course on cultural competence, to make sure that 1, everyone was on board with the second part of the mission, 2, to get people inspired and revving to go and get to doing the work, and 3, to make sure that the staff were doing more than just talking the talk. So I worked alongside the CEO of YWCA Metropolitan Phoenix and my supervisor, Debbie Esparza, State Farm's Learning and Development team, who were using us as a case study, and Malia Dunn, a consultant in the field. And together we decided the most beneficial course of action was to create trainings that would be an intro to race and racism and some of the elements and systems that cause for racism to still be so prevalent and real in the United States today, with an underlying theme about having difficult conversations on these topics with people outside of YWCA. By doing this, we would create cohesion amongst all of the staff, and this cohesion would make a statement to our partners and community at large that YWCA Metropolitan Phoenix is a united front. We created our racial equity and inclusivity training out of this idea, making the training centered around clear and validated facts, statistics, and anecdotes. This would give the staff a base of shared knowledge and language. So, one staff wouldn't be saying one thing and another staff would be saying something entirely different about race and racism. And also, when our staff members get into complicated, maybe even heated conversations about race with somebody with maybe differing views, that staff member can have the confidence in their knowledge to utilize during the conversation. And that confidence will help lead to having a more successful and fact-based conversation. Because typically, if you're unsure of the facts you're using when making an argument, you can often be pulled towards emotions to make up for that. And then when emotions are running high, most conversations can get out of hand and you don't feel the best walking away from it. It's like what some may have learned in high school English. You want to employ not only ethos or pathos, but logos as well to have the most sound, persuasive essay or argument. So these are the main subjects covered with a curriculum I created through lots of research. My first 5 months pretty much solely consisted of research. Debbie and the other staff can attest. Some nights I would be pulling 12 to 13-hour shifts just reading article after article after article and checking proof and validating, and just, it was a lot. The See Do Get model you see at the bottom was presented to YWCA by State Farm's Learning and Development team. It's a process that helps people change how they might see certain scenarios they don't like so that they can get more positive results out of them. So yeah, again, thank you to State Farm's Learning and Development team for arming us with that insightful and helpful tool, and also for helping us build an outline skeleton so that all of our trainings not only look and flow the same, creating consistency, but also their approach to teaching helps to ensure that every learning style is accounted for. The skeleton also allows for YWCA to continue making more trainings on more topics after my departure, because learning never stops. So I would like to take this time to thank Debbie and the whole YWCA team, Malia Dunn for taking me under her wing and showing me her fantastic approaches to facilitating, Robin Reef, who became like a second mother to me during this time, Catherine Popovich as my program manager, all of the allies, but especially Bailey, Kaya, Julie, Amy, and Charlie, my family with an emphasis on my mom for taking such good care of all my pets on those crazy nights that I wouldn't even be home until like 9 o'clock at night to immediately pass out in my bed, my best friends for dealing with all of my planned cancellations, and my professors for putting up with all of the deadline extensions I begged for. Schumacher, you're a real one. And just to summarize what I learned from this whole experience, I learned so much about the world and about others and about myself that I wouldn't have gotten any other way. You can only read so much in a book, but to actually experience it is a whole different scenario. I will always reflect on these 10 months as a time of huge personal growth, making some invaluable connections with the YWCA team and my Public Allies cohort. I also learned that I deserve so much more out of the world, but also that the world deserves so much more out of me. So yeah, that's about that. Thank you for taking the time to hear my story, and I hope you learned something.